Yeah, hey everybody, welcome to this. Like they were saying, I think this is going to be an awesome panel. Hopefully you guys ask questions, interact with us at the end. But real quick, we'll just kind of kick it off with introductions. My name is James Bello. I'm the founder of Shameless Pets. Maybe you want to...
Jamie Smith, Innovative Pet Lab. They had to pick the James and Jamie to moderate the conversation.
Yeah.
And we're also have taken part in a lot of accelerators and whatnot. So we have a true perspective on what this looks like as a founder. But let's do intros. Buff, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. Hi, my name is Buff Greebe. I'm the executive director at SKU. We're the first and leading CPG accelerator in the country. And obviously Petcare is very much part of that. We have quite a few alums here on the floor and here in the audience. And we organize 2 tracks a year with 8 companies, and we surround them with 10 mentors each. And we run a 12-week program, including an educational program, and it all ends in a big showcase day where we have a big room full of angel investors and VCs.
Awesome. Dustin.
Dustin McAdams. I'm a reformed ad agency guy who about 10 years ago started a company called Pupjoy. And I was one of the early winners in Purina's Pet Care Innovation Prize. And stayed very connected with the program as we developed a network and kind of a board, and eventually started helping to run it. So for the last couple of years, I helped to run our annual cycle of the Pet Care Innovation Prize and kind of corralling all things with the network.
And Rachel.
Hi everyone, I'm Rachel Sheppard. I'm the Director of Ventures at Mars Petcare, and I co-lead the Leap Venture Studio program. So the Leap Venture Studio program is a partnership between Mars and Michelson Found Animals Foundation. And we run a 12-week hybrid accelerator program where we invest $200,000 US in 6 to 8 companies a year. We have 57 companies in our portfolio, including 2 on stage with us right now, and across 17 countries. They've also raised over $240 million in follow-on capital, and we've had 2 exits, one of which was to Mars directly as well.
Very nice. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So let's start asking away. So I think as a founder, I've applied, went through both of these programs. I think one of the questions that we always ask is like, what is the benefit of going through? And then even at that, like what is maybe a non-obvious benefit of going through the program that you've seen companies go through and as they exit, like what has propelled them forward through the program?
Be happy to start. I would say with at least specific to Purina's Pet Care Innovation Prize, the most obvious benefits are it's free cash, so we do grants, there are no strings attached, and a lot of mentorship type of activities along with it. Probably the most non-obvious, I think what you would hear from a lot of members and former winners are the connections, especially with peers, but just generally connections and support that you receive out of being in kind of the ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, I would add to that as well, like not just the connections within the cohort, but like the halo effect of like their success as well. And so like being a part of a group of founders who are succeeding, they all have conversations, they all share insights, and that helps everybody succeed. So it is a little bit of a propelling, very positive snowball, if you will, every time we add a new set of companies to our portfolio.
Yes, and I agree with that. And to build on that, I think there's a couple of other things that we offer, and that is, I always say for every success and every big exit that you hear, there are literally 99 failures, right? And being surrounded by people who have done it before and who've beaten those odds really makes a difference. So that I think is very important. And then of course the network, as you guys talked about. And then thirdly also, getting connected to people who can invest in your business.
Yeah.
We have a huge network of VCs and angel investors.
And I'm glad you brought up that point, because I don't know what the exact stats are, but you hear a lot of that can you guys hear me? Sorry, it feels like it's cutting out. Okay. Percentage of failures in general with startups. I don't have the exact data out of all the companies that have gone through. This is the 10th year we're rolling into with the Pet Care Innovation Prize. So we've had, that's been a lot of winners. I think our network is 50 some. So I would say out of the 60 or so companies that have been through it, both the prize and some we pulled into the network, Jamie's company, the vast majority are still in business. There have been a few that have rolled off, but it's far, far exceeds like national averages. And I wouldn't attribute that by any means all to the program, but I think whether you're talking about the LEAP program or the SKU program or the PCIP program, programs like this help companies succeed. It certainly isn't a guarantee on success, but I think it is one additive element to companies, both the cash, but a lot of the support in success. And we're also picking the best of the best, which, the odds are stacked in our favor. So.
Yeah, that helps. So when it comes to applying and looking at applications, what do you guys look for in a company? You guys have all seen a vast amount of different companies have gone through your programs. Is it traction? Is it founders? What are things when people go to apply that they should really concentrate on that you look for in a company?
So let's take that one
Yeah,
first.
go for it, Buff.
So for a typical track, we have about 150 applications, and we look at those and we narrow it down to 40, and then we try and taste and test all those products. We interview the last 24, and then we select 8. So that's already a very rigorous selection process. So what we are looking at is obviously, what is the market you're playing in? Is it growing? Is it a high margin market? Then we look at how are you different from the competition, because we don't need copycats. That's very hard. So we really look at true innovations. Another very important element is what is the path to profitability? If you're still small, we can understand that your gross margins are relatively low, but there needs to be a part that it can be in the future a very profitable business. Then we look at runway. Are you going to run out of money during the program? And it has happened. So that's something we really look at. But all of that pales compared to what it means, who the founder is. We really, who is the founder? Is that somebody who is resilient, who can overcome problems, who is open to feedback? And it's something that we really would like to work with.
Awesome.
So I would say all those things, yes. Specifically, innovation is a bar. It's in the name of what we do. And we get asked this question a lot, and there isn't a perfect answer. If I look at the winners over the past 3 years, it's been Artie, which is a combination of appliance and a novel way to reconstitute freeze-dried food. VetChip, which is high-tech, trying to take really complex tracking technology down to a very small factor form. And they've got a multi-year roadmap to get there. And then VEA this past year, which is kind of automating a lot of things. Veterinary technology, very different spaces, very different reasons for picking each of those. But I would say common factor is, outside of the innovation, is the level of traction, which can be measured in different ways, and the opportunity to make big impact.
Yeah.
So VetChip was probably the biggest example of, they had traction, but they had very little revenue at the time they won. But if they do it all right, they're a huge play in the industry. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we look at a lot of similar things as Dustin and Buff, of course, but I think one of the things that I particularly get glued to in a pitch deck is the unit economics, but specifically the growth over time. It's really hard to share, as a business, this is how my business is doing really well. And that's hard to showcase when you're looking at a deck off of a screen. And I think the best way to showcase that is to really reframe those numbers and tell the story behind them as much as possible. I think it's a huge opportunity for people to do, and also showcase how this is a solution, not just that it is a solution, but how is this solving a problem for people today? And oftentimes when you see this really exponential growth, even if it's small net, but it's somehow you can see that there's some real drive coming from the business, or I should say demand being extracted from the business, that's actually a really beautiful thing, and showcases, okay, there's something here, and then yes, we want to look at the TAM and see, can you figure your way out through the rest of this journey as well?
Yeah. I mean, as a founder, I can say I joked that in my pitch deck, my traction and growth slide was 6 months of my life for a slide. I was like, how do I condense 6 months of work and tell a story in one slide? And that was one slide I spent more time on than anything. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a question that going through the programs, hit me. So I'm interested to hear from you. The Accelerator program, you learn so much, and I'm not kidding, so much in a short amount of time. What maybe, Rachel, is a challenge that you've seen founders, maybe an unexpected challenge that they weren't really planning for while still running their business, and then going through the accelerator that they could kind of learn from?
Yeah, that's a really great question. It is actually one of the reasons why we don't invest in solo founders without a team. So we won't write the check or bring you into the program unless you have somebody there to run your operations. It doesn't have to be another co-founder per se. We invest in solo founders, but somebody has to be watching things and making sure the ships don't sink while you're not looking, right? Because you do want to be able to, as a founder, lift your head up and say, oh yeah, let's take advantage of this opportunity that we're in and let's learn some new things. I think the hardest part is twofold. One is a nice problem to have, which is I think you get a lot of ideas and a lot of input, and it's a matter of distilling down what is actually going to work for my business and what is critical and what can be pushed to a later time, right? What is something we don't need to be doing right now, even though it's fun and exciting. And then the second piece is really trying to make sure that if you have launches planned and things like that, really kind of hedging those bets and maybe getting some help on sooner rather than later if possible. We do make an equity investment, and so we want that capital to be used for these types of things and also, of course, to accelerate the business. But having somebody on board for launches and things is also really important. We've seen those kind of creep up on founders in the middle of the program as well.
So I would agree with all that. And we see a range of like how coachable is someone. I would say a common thread we see, most of the companies that are coming through are fairly early stage with a couple exceptions. Most of those early stage companies in some way, shape, or form are either trying to seek capital or partnerships, and they're pitching themselves in some way, shape, or form. Brevity is a challenge, I think, for all of us, especially as entrepreneurs, because we're trying to convince the world how awesome we are, and trying to be as robust. And I think trying to coach our entrepreneurs to be concise is a common theme that we see over and over.
Yeah, there's not much I can add to that. Solo founders is always risky. And we actually do tell people who apply, if you don't have the headspace or the physical space to really dedicate your time to it, don't do it, because you're giving up equity. You're better off maybe waiting another year than trying to do everything at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I've taken part in SKU and in LEAP, and I will tell you that it's during those times, I mean, it's a lot of hard work. I mean, and the companies that I saw that went through it and maybe didn't get as much out of it as I didn't invest the time of it. I kept thinking, what a missed opportunity, that you had all these experts around you, but it is intense and you have to be ready for it. So that's great advice.
I do think too, one other thing I'll say is, as a founder, even day to day outside of programs and things like that, there are a lot of really amazing people in this space who are willing to help you. And a lot of times they'll say, how can I help? And the answer isn't always at the tip of your tongue, right? Or like you've thought about that. And so sometimes I think it's great for founders to think about, here are my top 3. Like right now, this week, this month, these are the things I need help with, so that when those opportunities arise, you're able to fully take advantage of them.
Yeah. So each of your programs are a little bit different in regards to when you apply, the process, as well as then what you guys make as far as an investment, whether it's financial or equity. So, how should founders think about those trade-offs? And also maybe describe a little bit more in detail kind of what your programs do, you offer when they come in, and expectations for a program, whether it's giving money, giving equity, giving grants. I think those are important decisions that founders need to make, not, before they apply, so they know that what they're getting into.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So as I said, we run 2 tracks a year, one in the spring and one in the fall. So actually tomorrow we're going to announce our fall track.
And he will not tell us who it is. I keep asking.
Still a secret. So in our case, it is equity for advice and time. So we don't invest. We pay a small stipend to cover expenses. But really, we ask companies to give up 5% of the equity. The sweet spot of the companies that we look at are somewhere between 200,000 and 2 million in revenue. That's typically where we have the companies. That's also where we believe we can add the most value. And in the program, we look at every aspect of the business. Of course, we will focus, but all the things are covered. It starts with market analysis, competitors, positioning, brand positioning, supply chain, operation, digital marketing, e-commerce, finance, fundraising, all of these stuff. And so really what you get back for it is a stronger plan with a better chance of success and connections with professionals and connecting to the investment world, the VCs.
Yeah.
And I always say, a lot of companies, they say, should I really give up 5% of the equity in my company? That's a fair question. But at the end of the day, would you rather have 100% of something that is still small or 95% of something that can be really, really big?
Great. Dustin.
I would first say you don't have to choose amongst these programs and a couple others out there. very synergistic. Part of the reason these two are great moderators is each of them have been through 2 of our programs as well as Jamie's in our network, so they know all the dirt on all of us. But
all the programs.
yeah.
I recommend all the programs.
I would encourage people to look into all the programs for sure. Plug and Play is another one that's worth taking a look at. I would say the Purina's Pet Care Innovation Prize is a little unique in a couple ways. There is no equity exchange; it's pure grant money. We have 5 winners that get $25,000, and then those 5 compete for another $25,000 global. So it's $150,000 each year that is given away. And in our accelerator structure is it's very intense, but it's compressed into a week. So we have a boot camp for all of them, then some follow-on, ongoing, more virtual training. Similar concept, but just structured in a little bit different way. But aside from that, we're same goal at the end of the day.
And then at Leap, we invest in the full spectrum of pet care. So we invest in CPG, but we also invest in veterinary and diagnostics as well. So in terms of stage, for CPG, we're similar stage to what SKU is. Sort of that early revenue to a substantial revenue, nice, decent recurring revenue. It depends on what segment of CPG you're competing in. If you have a more established category, we will look for more traction to be more competitive, that kind of thing. But we will invest pre-revenue for things like diagnostics, which just makes more sense in that category, for example. So we invest in the full spectrum. We also invest globally. So we had over 250 applications for our last cohort, and we selected 6 companies. We also will do, in our formatting, we do $200K USD in each of the companies, and that's $100K from each partner is invested in Leap. And then we also have that availability to do each vehicle, so we can invest on safe, convertible notes, or equity. There's not a standard percentage. We actually are a little bit flexible in what that looks like. And then the program itself is 12 weeks. It starts out in person. We do a week in person, which is really fun in the beginning. Get to know the companies really well, and bring in lots of thought leaders also from Mars Petcare and animal health broadly speaking. And then we do 10 weeks virtual. We design the programming so that you get the information you need, but you're also not completely overwhelmed like we were talking about. We want to make sure you're able to space stuff out and have plenty of time to run your business. And then we close it out in the end with a demo day, alumni summit, and investor summit where you get to meet the rest of our portfolio who's able to join us as well as investors. And then we do a virtual demo day. That's a video that lives and usually is useful for the founders for at least 6 to 12 months afterwards in terms of the data and that type of thing that's accurate for that time.
I love that you guys are vehicle agnostic or investment vehicle agnostic.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So that brings up a question that I get asked a lot from founders. And we're talking now about entry into the program and then the program itself. What about after the program? If you guys don't mind talking about the support that you provide, maybe the ecosystem, communities, things along those lines, because quite honestly, as a founder, that was one of the most valuable pieces, was really after in helping kind of propel the brand forward.
Maybe I'll kick it off on this one. So the portfolio support is really also very unique in the sense that we have 57 companies across 17 countries. Their support is very different, individual to individual. But here's a couple of key points I would want people to know. One is, we give you your capital, we want you to take part of the program, and then we also don't want to be in your way, right? We want to make sure you're able to run the company as fast and as nimble as you can, but we are here to support. So a lot of follow-on capital introductions from our greater venture network, as I know both of you guys have as well. Also, access to experts is always available. So if you have a specific question that somebody within internally can go answer for you, we're happy to go track that down, try to make that intro happen. We get creative though with what is needed in real time. So we've done showcases with retailers when we know we have a large group of founders who want to get into a specific retailer. Right now, it's a little bit of an open question to founders in general, as so much has changed about building a startup in the last, I would say 18 months in particular, but with AI entering the chat, you need to be building with AI. And so a lot has changed. There's a lot that's happening in a learning curve perspective. And so whatever founders need, we want to be there for. So we're also trying to on-go listen and say, okay, this is what you're saying you need, and this is what a few people have said they need, so let's go ahead and put something together to do that at scale. And we do portfolio check-ins at least twice a year to check in and see how things are going.
So our network, which is kind of the follow-on of things, is very similar in size. We're right about 55 as well. We've got some members who are highly active in everything, some that are not so much, and a lot in the middle ground that are fairly active and maybe off and on a little bit. Structurally, we do a few things. One, there's quarterly meetings with the entire network. Most of those are virtual. Sometimes we do some physical components. Try to bring in experts from the outside so they're not just listening to me and Jay because we're boring. And we try to put on a number of events through the years that hopefully are meaningful to the founders. So for example, yesterday we just had a investor forum where it was closed room. We had a decent investor group in there, and it was for our network companies. So we try to do some stuff like that, dinners in cities, some events in cities to try to get kind of the right people in the right place. And a lot of what we do at the end of the day is just try to build a community, connect dots, get out of the way when it makes sense to get out of the way, but we're there to try to open doors for the network members.
Okay. So yeah, in our case, I would say three things. One is also the networking, the giving access, organizing events, all of that. We help our alumni whenever they raise money to connect them with investors. So very similar to what you do. And I think there's one element which is really unique in our SKU model is that the program actually is paid by the mentors. So the mentors invest in the track. So the equity that we get from the 8 participating brands is all put in one LLC, and then our mentors become members in the LLC, which means they have skin in the game in your business. And that means that when you do an exit, they will make their money. And that means that they are open and very much prepared to continue to work with you for many years to come. And that makes our program truly unique.
Yeah.
I do love that element of your program.
That's awesome.
So you guys have talked a little bit about some of the companies that have gone through and been big successes. But with that too, I think it's equally as important to learn from some maybe missteps that people took post-program and or things that were maybe, after graduating that became red flags. So anything comes to mind as far as, like I said, it's equally as important, but missteps or failures that people or founders make once they exit the program. Rachel, you're nodding. You want to start?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, she's like, she's got one.
There's two things that come to mind. One is overhiring, and hiring too quickly and hiring for positions that are part of a scale that you haven't quite reached yet. They're more anticipatory, and I have seen some founders do that, and it really is only overhiring in retrospect because the markets have changed and sort of contracted, and so it's not always a crystal ball situation, but I would say be very, very, very thoughtful with your hiring in the earliest of stages, especially now, like be as capital efficient as you possibly can be. And then the second thing I would say is taking on debt vehicles and not necessarily getting into all of the nuance of what that debt vehicle could be. That I think puts your business in a helpful situation in the short term and potentially a risky situation in the long term. And so just really kind of analyzing some of those things would be things I've seen that could be good to be cautious around.
Yeah.
Again, we've been pretty fortunate that most of our companies that have come through are still in business. Some have been more successful than others. I would say, the few I've seen struggle or may have gone out of business, sometimes it's not their fault. Sometimes
Fair.
market shift and a model doesn't work as well. I would say possibly rigidity can be very detrimental if you're an early stage entrepreneur. And I would say a common factor of the ones we see that are very successful is they're very nimble, able to make decisions quickly, but also pivot on stuff and not get too myopic about righteousness of their own mindset. And that's not to say that the ones that haven't made it all suffer from the opposite of that, but it's certainly not having the unit economics that are going to survive can be challenging, and sometimes that's a founder's fault, and sometimes that's just where the market is. But my advice to probably anybody coming in this is, your early stage, things move fast. if anybody heard the AI panel that we just got off of, they're moving lightning fast in that space. You got to be flexible and fluid enough and not stuck on your own mind to be able to move.
Yeah, so what can I add to that? I would say...
Probably a better answer.
No. Additionally, what I sometimes see companies, they raise money too quickly. They dilute too quickly. And once the money is in, they start spending it, on payroll, paying themselves. So I think, whatever, yes, unit economics is super critical, especially in today's environment where it's so hard to raise money. Get that business to profitability as quickly as you can. Focus. We also see people try to do everything at the same time. And I always say, if you try to do everything at the same time, you will fail at everything. So you really have to pick your things, focus, do it really well, and be bootstrapped for as long as you can so you don't dilute.
Awesome. It's awesome advice. So outside of sustainable treats, what are some trends in categories that you guys are seeing here or looking into the future that are kind of piquing your interest, that you think are big opportunities?
Sustainable treats is big.
I knew that. Yeah.
Very big. No, there's definitely a search for cat-focused solutions. We're definitely looking for more things happening in cat, as we know pet parenthood is growing. Senior pets is something I'm very focused on in terms of very senior focused solutions. We have a lot of senior pets coming, a lot of puppies and kittens adopted in 2020, 2021. And then also accessibility of care. That underlying theme of accessibility of care can bring so many solutions to the forefront, and anything that's sort of addressing that and making pet parenthood slightly more accessible, both from a financial standpoint and from a physical access to resources and services standpoint, I'm very interested in.
Those are all good. The easy answer on this would be artificial intelligence, but I think it's penetrating everything, so that's kind of a cop-out answer. There's a panel on this tomorrow, but I do think it's significant trend is all things that's impacting kind of human wellness and how that's flowing into pet, and will, I believe, continue to flow into pet. Touches a lot of areas, or subsectors, I guess. The other one I would say, maybe not so prominent on this show floor, but if you go to VMX and the veterinary side, there's a lot. I think the industry, especially the veterinary side, is very ripe for a lot of automation and updates. And you see a lot of companies having some very creative plays around how to tackle that in ways that maybe really haven't been hit a lot for a while. But you've had a lot of roll-up situations within the veterinary community, and I think that's driving some change with the innovative technology providers that are coming in to solve problems that are 20 years old now.
Why am I always the last one to answer?
I know.
Definitely sustainability. I would also add personalization.
Yeah.
That has to do with humanization of pets, and you see here on the floor so many examples of that. And I would say, vets are, there's not enough vets. It's very expensive to go to the vet, so I see a lot of solutions for being a vet yourself. With at-home testing. Your company.
Obviously, at-home testing, number one.
Yeah.
And sustainability.
I see many other examples, and then of course sustainability.
Exactly.
I am going to open up the floor in a minute for questions. So if you've got some, Jay has a mic and we can do. But while people think of their questions, why don't we give a minute to give you guys a plug for your programs? If there's anything big coming up, I know you're getting ready to announce your guys' new fall cohort, but and there's some events coming up for PCIP. So quickly, let's maybe go through. Buff, let's start with you. If you want to plug anything big in your program to pay attention to in the next 3 to 6 months, and then we'll open the floor for some questions because we're getting close to time.
Yeah, so we're kicking off the fall track tomorrow, so that one is closed. But sign up for a newsletter. We have 2 tracks a year, and the application for the spring track will open in September.
Okay, September for SKU.
Yeah, and that's skew.is.
Yep.
Good news, I'm open for business now. So our applications, the application window just opened. There's also a stack of cards back here with all the information. If you can't remember, but it's petcareinnovation.net. You've got about a little over a month to get an application in. The first pass of it's actually really easy. If you make it to the top 30, then we come back and ask for a little more information, but first pass probably will take an hour tops to fill out. So that's the biggest part. We're also running a couple events in the next few weeks. We're in New York City next week, 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
We're in New York City in 2 weeks, and then we're out in Scottsdale on the 9th of September. 8th? That was a moving target, so it's the 8th. Yeah.
It's a moving target.
If you're interested in either of those events, if you happen to live or just want to travel there, hit Jay or I up and we'll get you all the information on that. Those are just kind of like we go into cities and throw a party with local entrepreneurs and get to know people. So they're fun, but I wouldn't necessarily suggest flying across the country for them. But I would definitely check out petcareinnovation.net. Good resources there, and you can find our application.
See, Buff, you got to go first on this one. There you go. No, for Leap Venture Studio, we will be opening applications in the winter, so stay tuned for that. And also follow us on LinkedIn, Leap Venture Studio. That's the best way to get the sort of updates as soon as the applications open. And then in the meantime, honestly, I would really love to hear from founders. What do you need? What is different about building a business that you feel like is missing in terms of the support that you have access to today? One of the things that we've always maintained is that we like to be quite nimble and flexible to what founders need when we select a cohort. So I do really love hearing from you guys what you need most.
Yeah, awesome. Questions? Just raise your hand. Anyone?
Right back here, Jay.
Anthony.
Yes.
Hi guys, my name is Anthony Gaddy. I'm co-founder and CEO of PetPacks Co., a SKU alumni. We're new in the scene. We're super excited. We make supplemelts. They're supplements that melt in the dog's cheek pocket. And we're wondering about Super Zoo is obviously a huge event to go to, and we were guests at Global Pet Expo. Are there other big events that you have found are really important to go through throughout the year to meet other founders and to meet investors and other business owners?
Yeah.
Pet Connect. Yeah, and sorry to jump in. Steal your thunder, Jay. There's a conference coming up in December, Pet Connect. They do bring in startups as well as thought leaders in the industry. I've done that conference a couple times. That's a great one. So it's a great networking event. So,
Yeah.
And I would say not necessarily for you, Anthony, right? Not necessarily for you, Anthony, or anybody else who's more on the pure product side, but if you're in the realm of technology, veterinary kind of crossover, VMX and VIS are two very important shows if you're in that realm. So if you're somebody like Jamie, where it almost crosses over, then it makes sense.
Yeah, those are our main ones.
Now we see, Rachel, you got left with no answer to have on.
No, yeah, that's it. Listen, you guys got all covered.
any others?
Good.
I'm curious if you all have heard of any entrepreneurs that did have a problem because they participated in more than one program.
That did have a problem?
No, I haven't.
No.
I've done all. I mean, I'm going to apply for all of them. I still do. So, I mean, we didn't talk about Plug and Play, and I know she couldn't be here, but that's another great accelerator program that you should look into. That great resources for pet. I thought there was maybe a couple founders here. If they are, raise your hand so you can give it some. That have done. Yes, please, Anna. Yeah.
Plug and Play has an accelerator specifically focused on pet and also one focused on ag. And I went through the pet accelerator. I'm now an advisor for the pet accelerator, and I think they do a great job along with everyone on the panel.
Yeah. Thank you.
Also, Elevate, if LaShonda was here, she would tell you about a new program called Elevate, which I think won't open again until the spring. I'm not entirely sure about her window, but if you look for Elevate.
They just, so they just wrapped up their first cohort. I'm not sure when the next one launches. They're relatively new, but they're also unique in what they're doing. They are really focused on trying to find underrepresented founders and give them kind of a platform for a community and a platform to elevate them, which the name totally fits. LaShonda, who runs it, is absolutely amazing, and I think all of us do whatever we can to try to support what they're doing.
I would say not necessarily a company that had a problem, but I have had conversations with founders very honestly where they've participated in an accelerator and given equity away already, and they won't do it again. And I think that that's a very reasonable, very awesome decision from a founder perspective. Like, for example, if they participate in Y Combinator or Techstars, they may not have enough of the equity to be able to make room for another program. And that's a very thoughtful process to go through as a founder as well. So just to add it there. Yeah.
Hello, this is Kim from South Korea. Sorry, my English is not good, but I heard VCs doesn't like hardware business, but I think the AI needs data, and data comes from the hardware. So, could you tell me hardware devices with AI the business? How do you think about it?
I want to make sure I understand the question. AI and how we think about it in terms of these programs?
I mean the AI technology, AI software technology always needs the data, right? The kind of the pet. For in my case, we need pet urine data, the poop and pee. We investigate the poop and pee, but the investigate poop and pee, we need to collect the poop and pee, and so we need the device for the collecting the poop and pee. So first we made the hardware devices for the collecting the poop and pee, and we investigating about the poop and pee right now with the AI system. But most VCs doesn't like we made the collecting devices. Just they tell me always just investigating with the AI. They always told me, but I don't think how devices comes from. I mean we need to collecting that data. There is no data in the poop and pee regarding the poop and pee. So we made it, but VCs doesn't like it, so it's a little bit confused for me. But I want to know about how do you think about this hardware devices with AI system for the business?
So you may be onto something with the collection of data there, because you're right, I haven't heard of anybody necessarily doing that. I think the question's maybe a little beyond the expertise of us, if you're talking about like what is the VC's position on that. I'm not a VC, so I don't know that I can speak for them. I think certainly when you're talking to a VC community, they're looking for something that can scale in order to have appropriate exits. Yeah, I'll stop there because I don't know. I'm not sure I can answer your question on that one.
Just one thought I have we've invested in a handful of hardware startups. I think the one thing is venture is inherently, a little bit, hardware is really hard to fundraise for, not just once, but like multiple times. So that's what makes it so challenging and so risky is, especially at the seed stage, we're making an early investment. We need to believe that the team can go and fundraise again, right? And then fundraise again some more, because hardware comes with these very interesting variables that tend to come up. One of them is called tariffs, and so these things come up and pop out of nowhere, and they change the business model, they change the margins, they change the revenue and the cash flow very quickly. And so my advice to any hardware startup is, as you fundraise, have those conversations in your deck and have the ways that you're de-risking these inherent hardware challenges so that you're at least able to have a little bit of hedging that bet initially in the early conversations. I think that can sometimes be helpful. Does that answer your question? Yeah.
That was a much better answer than mine.
Thank you, Dustin.
Yeah. Okay. You guys want to give final thoughts before we wrap up?
Who wants to go first?
Go ahead, Buff. You go.
Put me on the spot there.
Yes.
No, I think if you're a founder and surround yourself with people around you who can really help you and beat the odds and make sure you get more successful. If that is a formal program like the three of us here, that's great. But there are also other ways. But always seek the help you need, because it makes all the difference. For every success, there's 99 failures, and you don't want to be one of those.
Now, maybe more than, if not ever, at least in a while, it's a little tough out there to raise money. Hopefully that will ease up at some point in the not too distant future. But if you're an entrepreneur right now, you got to be scrappy and smart. because money's not being thrown around wildly. And all of us, plus a few others in kind of this world of trying to help entrepreneurs get a leg up on things, like leverage them. Apply for what you can apply. Don't be afraid to ask for things. There are companies and people out here that are in this to try to help you, and I think we all represent that. And take advantage of it where you can.
Yeah, I would just double click on, make sure to know what your challenges are, so when the opportunities come to have the conversations and ask for the help, you're ready for that conversation. And definitely ask for the help. I mean, these two founders on stage have brought us more companies and had helped more founders than I could possibly count. And despite the very large vastness of this room, this is a small-ish industry in many ways. And a lot of us know each other, and we're usually very open and happy to help as much as possible. So please don't hesitate to ask for help, and also don't underestimate the power of the network you already have to help you with what you need next.
And I would just echo on that for founders coming from a founder. Do not be shy in asking help of these three. I do it still all the time, but they're incredibly gracious with their time. I know as a founder, especially earlier stage, you kind of wonder, am I wasting your guys' time? Are they going to respond to me? You kind of can overthink things. Don't worry, I can validate. They will always respond. They will go out of their way to help in any way that they possibly can.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And don't forget to apply for PCIP.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.